Hello, in this video I will be talking about my intellectual discovery through the writing process for my literary analysis essay in English 4. To start off, the literary analysis essay asks that we critically explore a topic that is threaded throughout 2 to 3 stories of our choosing from the book we read during the course, The Refugees by Viet Thanh Nguyen. Our test was to write a literary analysis about the stories of our choosing that 1. Made a claim about the deeper meaning behind the story's treatment of the topic, and 2. Supported the claim by identifying literary elements such as point of view, tone, imagery, symbolism, etc. in the stories and analyzed them. Finally, 3. Supported the claim with key quotes that we would unpack and analyze carefully. Just as the essay's name mentions, we would be basically analyzing the stories we read by providing quotes and further explanations, tying our essay down to a common theme in stories of our choosing. Here, I've shown the first interpretive question by one of my classmates and my response. Notice how my response was minimal, but I still incorporated literary elements into my answer to demonstrate some understanding of the short story. Furthermore, this is another example of an interpretive question by another classmate in my response. As you can tell, I dug much deeper into expressing and correlating a more meaningful response than the previous one, since I provided direct quotes from the text, cited them, then created analysis after each question. Now, it was my turn to pose 2 interpretive questions and then reflect upon my classmates' responses after. To me, coming up with the questions were fairly simple, but I did find trouble in formulating a clear, straightforward question that would not confuse any of my classmates. It all of course made sense to me, but I was challenged in having to think from a different perspective and determine what a clear response for it would look like. After seeing my classmates' responses, I was able to then see this different point of view and respond to them accordingly. Finally, then came my last forum posed with 2 interpretive questions in response to one of them. I chose to include these examples because I wanted to show a change from my response to the first from the last. Major change I can see visually is that my way of typing each question and its font had changed. More importantly, there were more quotes, citations, and analysis to support my claim. I was able to connect the story's alignment, and this too allowed me to understand clearer and draw connections back to the author. Every essay we wrote in the course was built upon different writing processes. To me, I saw the most change in development in my literary analysis essay, which is why I chose to focus on this one more. As you can see, this is an illustration of my first writing process, or in other words, was a shitty draft. A shitty draft wasn't even considered a rough draft, as it was simply free writing to standardize a layout. This was my full essay, roughly 2.5 pages, and it definitely needed more development. Moving on to the second writing process, where we needed to develop a tentative thesis statement and provide supporting statements that would count as evidence to back up our claim. As you can tell, my thesis was supported by a decent amount of explanation to the stories, but I still wasn't sure it was quite the one. Surprisingly, I even ended up changing all of my tentative thesis statements in writing processes 3 and 4 because I found that the common claim I had provided wasn't going to give me as much analysis as I had originally predicted. As shown highlighted in yellow, my new thesis statement was, through the selection of imagery, characters, point of view, and conflict, Viet Thanh Nguyen is able to express that it was necessary to portray characters as the expectation in order to reveal that refugees are built upon their experiences. Now, looking back, I can see that I now have literary elements incorporated, a clear connection back to the refugees that the author continuously mentioned, and a more direct claim. Highlighted in green are simply my topic sentences, but I did want to mention something that was new to me. In class, Professor Ma went over how to correctly cite quotes, and I learned that if we are incorporating a long text into our essay, it is to be indented, single-spaced, and cited with all page numbers only in the end. This was an important add-on to me because within this process, I had learned something new that would follow me in my future writing courses and would allow my essay to be correctly formatted and therefore it would flow smoothly to the reader. Continuing on, writing process number 5 consisted of peer review feedback from one of my classmates. I added the format for how the feedback needed to be addressed and how it would provide more help to the owner of the essay so that it is more developed and contains the requirements. Below is shown the feedback I received, and although it was all positive feedback, I was told to work more on the so what part of my essay, so that is what I did. In my peer review reflection post for writing process number 6, I mentioned all of the steps I would take to create more analysis of the importance of my statements. Off to the right side, you can also see that I mentioned I gave myself additional constructive feedback after viewing my partner's essay and reflecting upon my responses to their own. Peer review feedback is always helpful because you get to see other people's point of view when reading your essay. It gives you the opportunity to improve and calls for a setback to reflect. Finally, we've progressed to the final draft of my literary analysis essay. I touched base with its importance, giving it the so what factor, and gave each character its own meaning. I was most proud of my conclusion, which is why I decided to only include this piece for my essay. I felt this provides a summary, draws all connections between the quotes and analysis to my thesis statement, and gives the reader the last and final impression. Each of the essays I wrote in English 4 were facilitated by undergoing a process that developed more and more into its final result. To me, having this standardized process not only helped me because it split up the essay into sections, making it much easier to develop, but it allowed me time to reflect upon my own writing. As you saw throughout each writing process, I was able to progress as every writing process level did. More specifically, I grew a deeper understanding of the refugees with the discussion forums as I was able to question myself and think critically about my responses on how each character was meaningful to the story and why. I was able to then take each story and grasp a clearer topic common among three and include quotes to further explain and prove my thesis. Within my essay, I found new ways of formatting and learned a proper way to cite the quotes used in my essay. In the end, I found that I developed a clearer understanding of what was asked of me in the prompt and did so successfully by following each writing process and grew and expanding. Thank you for watching my video.